Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the Funbelt Podcast.
This is the Funbelt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howlraiser, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating.
Welcome back to Funbelt Podcast. We have a full roster because it's finally happening, guys. We got Thibodeau, we got Shane Metlin, we got Jeremy Harper, and Sunbelt Media Days is just like, 24 hours away, Tibbs? Is it 24 hours? Is it 36 hours? I don't even know how many hours.
Depends on how quickly you edit this. Do we have a valid real clock?
It could be 5 or 6 hours. It could be 10 minutes.
It starts in 10 minutes.
So you know what? It's a little strange this year, guys, and this has been throwing me off. It's thrown my wife off.
It's not strange, first of all. Not strange. That once again, it'll just be two people carrying the show as always.
Listen, I was going to bring that up, but I was trying to bring it up delicately. But You bring up a salient point, is that once again, Shane Metlin will not be in New Orleans. We could ask Shane right now. We could ask him what his excuse is. Should we ask him?
I like talking about him like he's not here. Sure.
Metlin, what is your lame excuse this year?
It is too far away. I've got too much stuff going on. I need to move this thing to, Richmond. I'd be there.
You East Coast guys are always whining. Oh, it's too far away. Boo hoo. Pensacola, too far away. New Orleans, too far away. Have you ever heard of an airplane?
He has his own private jet. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah.
I thought all you East Coast guys flew private. What happened?
Cracking down on that kind of spending.
Expenses. Yeah, I get that. No, what's strange, Tibbs and Shane, is that usually this thing is held on a Tuesday, Wednesday. This year, held on a Wednesday, Thursday, and it screwed me up for weeks and months now. Like every time my wife is like, "When is this?" I'm like, "Well, I think it's Tuesday," but it's not. It's Wednesday, Thursday. Are you guys having trouble grappling with this the same way I am?
Nope.
No. It truly just dawned on me now that it's not the same days.
Yeah, it's not. It's not the same day, and it's really screwing up my whole internal calendar. But I'm coping. I'm leaving tomorrow. Tibbs, how are you getting here? How are you getting to New Orleans?
The sponsorless purple, yellow, and red heart.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
The place that used to have 2 bags fly for free, and now they don't. And it was herding cattle, and now you have to actually pick a seat and all that fun stuff.
You're saying you're taking an airplane via Southwest?
I didn't say that. They're not sponsors. Screw them.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay. All right. So you're taking a plane. I'm driving my Subaru from Little Rock to New Orleans. Subaru, big car up in the East Coast, right, Shane Metlin?
You see some Subarus.
Yeah. I went to the arena football game in Hot Springs the other day. Might have been the only Subaru in the parking lot, guys.
If we want to make this a Funbelt conversation, I'll just point out John Wade, one of Marshall's all-time great players, owns the Subaru dealership in Harrisonburg. So
I need to buy my next Subaru from him then. That would be great. I've been driving Subarus for a few years now, and I some people question my manly credentials, but I enjoy the all-wheel drive. Shane, what are you driving?
Prius.
Tibbs.
I got to find new co-hosts.
Is that like a tampon on wheels?
I don't make a lot of money, but I do get paid mileage for the places I go, and come out ahead when I'm driving the Prius to work.
That's actually a very, very sensible reason to drive. Tibbs, what are you driving these things? Let me guess. I'm going to guess. Is it a Tundra?
Tacoma, but yeah.
Tacoma, okay. All right. I figured it'd be some.
Little truck.
Okay. Yeah. You know, those aren't cheap, though.
Nothing's cheap these days, Jeremy. Especially not purple planes that take you to New Orleans.
Yes, you're talking about Southwest. You really confused us earlier.
No shit. I could see the blank look on y'all's face.
It wasn't blank. I was nonplussed. Shane, or are you a little aggravated, maybe a little irritated by that whole exchange?
I just didn't know what he was alluding to.
Speaking of irritated, I'm not irritated. I was a little surprised, guys, to see the Sun Belt come out with their picks for the Sun Belt West and for the Sun Belt East, and they're all Sun Belt first and second teams. Tibbs, is it just weird? Doesn't this usually happen during Sun Belt Media Days, or is it
Usually
always
first,
been?
No, it's usually first thing that first day of Media Day.
Yeah.
So in your world, the Tuesday morning is when we get it.
That's right. So I was a little stunned. It just kind of snuck up on us. I was like, when did this happen? How did this happen without us being there in New Orleans to sort of, I don't know, shepherd it?
I figured you were the one first place vote for Southern Miss.
There is a rumor floating around that could be Blake Anderson putting the vote for Southern Miss. But Shay, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Because you're among us, you're the professional journalist. Tibbs and I not professionals. We're just sort of cosplaying. But you're the pro. You're the one with all the credentials. Should it be the media selecting, like making the prediction for the order that the teams come in? Do you feel like this is the role of coaches who maybe aren't like, this is not really, they cannot really think objectively? Yes, they're in the middle of all this. They know teams better than anyone, but are they really objectively the people to be getting this kind of poll from?
I don't know about the objective part of it. And I've always found it interesting growing up in Big 12 country that they always had a coach's poll and a media poll. And there was always like a coach's player of the year, in the postseason, there was, coach's player of the year and all Big 12 and everything. And I always found it interesting to compare the two. Most of the time they're pretty similar, but sometimes there's a little bit of difference. So yeah, long-winded answer to say, like, I don't know that it matters that much, but like, I do kind of like seeing both perspectives.
I was hoping for a more fiery answer, like a damn right the media should be doing this. Just like the media should be selecting the all-star players for baseball.
Because, I mean, the flip side of that is, like, sometimes people get bonuses based on things that, like, the media votes for, and that is a little bit dicey.
I didn't think about that. Tibbs, you want to weigh in on this?
I'm just so happy that James Madison was voted first in the East. I feel that their accomplishments last year are very fitting of this year's new roster, new coaching staff, new players, new everything. I think they even changed the shade of purple. To be rewarded with that number one slot.
I always find it a little lazy when last year's number one finishers end up becoming next year's favorites. I think that's why I asked Shane, should someone else beside coaches be picking this? Because I feel like maybe the coaches aren't really putting a lot of effort into it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe James Madison and Troy are. Before we go on, God, we got to educate our listeners, our listeners, Tibbs. Let's start with the West. How did it shake up in the West? Let's educate first.
Troy.
Okay.
Your Louisiana Lafayette Raging Cajuns.
Right.
The new kids on the block, Louisiana Tech, Southern Miss, South Alabama, and ULM last West.
You forgot a team.
Not out of the West.
Number 3?
Didn't I say Arkansas State?
No, I don't think you did. Shane, did he say Arkansas State?
I'm honestly not sure if he said it or not.
You know what?
Arkansas State is third.
Yes.
When they lost to ULM last year, I lost all respect for them, and I will not recognize them in any shape, form, or fashion. They will just be known as that school.
You know what? Normally, I would take umbrage with that. That would raise my dander a little bit. But you're absolutely correct, Tibbs. When you lose to the Warhawks, your credibility goes right out the window. And I'm telling you, the Red Wolves have a lot to prove this season to get that credibility back. Not just from me, but from America. So that's how it shakes up, though, in the Sun Belt West. And I'm thinking the Sun Belt West, Tibbs, is a little bit like a Wild West, kind of like what it was last year. Yes, we could say Troy is the favorite because they won last year. And they have Goose Crowder back, which, quite frankly, I'm not sure if he's worthy of the accolades that he's received. Please, Goose Crowder fans, don't get on my butt for that. Putting Louisiana Cajuns in there, okay, maybe. I don't know. I don't know who the true number 1 is, Tibbs. Do you know the true number 1 of the Sun Belt West?
I would have went with Troy out of those teams on the West. I agree with it just because I think Jared Parker kind of now has a feel for what it takes to compete in the West. He did it last year. A lot of that roster is back for this year. It's a fair assessment going into the season. Now, are we saying that the Trojans are going to be playing for a championship in November, December? Maybe, maybe not, but at least going into the season, I think that's the right place for them.
I am looking forward, and Shane, I wish you were there for this. I am looking forward to meeting Lunch Winfield, the Cajuns' fiery quarterback. He's returning for the year for the Cajuns, which I thought was a pretty good development for the Cajuns. Get that guy back.
Yeah, and I mean, in my own personal voting, I don't know. Are we supposed to talk about the fact that there is going to be like a media poll for the Sun Belt that some of us were invited to take part in, put on by the Pine Belt News down in Hattiesburg.
Is there a media poll? I wasn't invited to a media poll.
I got the invite. Sorry about that.
That's because Arkansas State doesn't exist, Jeremy.
That's not according to you.
But in my vote there, I kind of I don't know. I favored teams that had quarterbacks returning. And
yes,
you mentioned Lunch Winfield. I maybe didn't have Louisiana high enough by that logic. I think I had them 3rd or 4th in the West. But I do to me, Troy was an easy pick. I mean, they've got the defensive player of the year. I think that was he was obviously going to get that, coming off 11 sacks last year. And like you say, you're maybe not that high on Goose Crowder, but they have 2 quarterbacks that played well last year that I think at least serviceable starting quarterbacks with experience. That made Troy a pretty easy pick or less for me.
Yeah, I felt like Troy kind of fell apart in the end because of quarterback play. I could be misremembering that. I remember Goose being hurt a lot, coming back, not really doing too much when he came back. I don't know why I'm so hard on Goose. Tibbs, is there a reason why I'm hard on Goose?
That clip's going to be cut.
I'm hard on Goose.
I think it's a hell to the chief type of discussion, right? Okay. Arkansas State is no longer that team in the West like we saw several years ago. And so I think that you have a little bit of resentment in your heart there, Jeremy, that you can't deal with another team that is taking over those reins of leading the West.
I will admit that seeing the OGs like Troy and the Cajuns, get their sort of lip service here, it hurts me a little bit. Because, those are the old guys, right? And here they are. They're back. They're in prominence. They're on top. Where's Arkansas State? Makes me upset. All right, so let's look at the bottom, Tibbs. Are the Warhawks really next to last? I feel like, all right, here's my thing about the Warhawks. I feel like maybe on paper we've seen sort of some treading water, but it feels like to me that the quality of play has gotten better in Monroe. Am I wrong about that?
Maybe. And I say that as, I may not necessarily be on the inside looking out. I'm at least on the line looking both ways.
Okay.
I just don't see the it factor of the, oh my God, we have this that is going to be the difference. The Vegas odds are 3.5 wins on the season. I've said all along they're a 4-win team. So do we celebrate that it's a 4-win season? Probably not. But I do think that they could possibly sneak a game and get back to that 5 with 6 just out of reach again.
Oh, okay.
But the little things, right? Like they just put a roster out over the weekend. So you didn't even know what a potential 2 deep would look like. You didn't know what the roster looked like. You didn't know anything about this team going into media days even. And so you're kind of punished for that in addition to the 9 straight losses last year.
Yeah, that could just be gamesmanship, right?
Probably. They're not the only ones who waited a long time to post a roster. Maybe not quite that long, but like there were multiple teams that just didn't have a roster online.
Shane, once again, as Tibbs has pointed out, the Panthers are sitting there at the bottom. They kind of had a disaster first year under Del McGee. They had kind of a disaster second year under Del McGee. Kind of like Brian Vincent. Shouldn't this team be improving now that the coach has had a couple seasons under his belt, couple recruiting classes? Shouldn't we be seeing something out of the Panthers this year?
You'd think so. I mean, on some level. I mean, obviously the idea with the hire, and you see it across a lot of sports at Georgia State, is the idea is we're going to bring somebody in here who recruits Atlanta, recruits Georgia, keeps people at home. Maybe you end up keeping a guy that's a little bit out of your weight class because he wants to stay home, or you get these guys in the transfer portal who want to come back, and it just hasn't really worked in football. I do wonder, even if you go down there to Atlanta and on Georgia State's campus, there's some really nice things. Like the basketball arena is spectacular. The building up the place, the apartment complexes and everything around the football stadium. Fantastic. The football stadium itself, like, I don't know, it's falling apart in places. It's probably rough. It's probably tough, like, necessarily to like say, hey, we're all in on football and get those guys to come back. So I don't know if it's Del McGee or if it's just they're a little behind on some of the stuff compared to other Sunbelt programs.
Tibbs, it will be interesting to have Del McGee in front of us and maybe listen to how he hypes up this team. I think last year, the story for Del McGee is we got all these great running backs. And everybody was kind of bought in on, we've got all these great running backs. And that never really quite materialized. So I would love to see what his positioning is going to be when we talk to him, Tibbs.
I think it's going to be Cameron Brown and that story as well, that he has his quarterback back. That's the foundation that he can build around and all the other good coachees in there. But Jeremy, you jumped to the East when we didn't get to finish talking about the West.
Partly because I kind of thought that the Panthers are in the East or in the West. It's been a long time. It's been a long season. And now I'm just beginning to get back into this. Yes, let's
Are
get
you
back.
intimidated by the presence of Netlin?
I am a little bit. Let's get back into the West. I am so sorry. I have been snorting Adderall, and I'm a little bit off. So, hey, we got a new member coming into the Sun Belt, and that person is a citizen of the Sun Belt West, Louisiana Tech. Tibbs, I know that you're thrilled to see these guys come in.
Well, I mean, according to the national storylines, yes, it's because we're Poverty U and it's a cheap for all of our sports to travel, the 37 miles down the road. And that's the sole reason. And we wanted to piss off all the teams in the East, especially James Madison, by having our neighbors invited. We tried to get Grambling as well, but there just wasn't enough room.
Wow.
No,
I didn't consider any of these conspiracy theories. This is great stuff. Go on.
I'm interested to see what Louisiana Tech looks like this year, because just how we talked about ULM really having a lot of question marks, I think Louisiana Tech has just as many as well. They kind of have two okay quarterbacks, but not necessarily the guy, both of which played the majority of last year. The guy that led the come from behind efforts against Coastal Carolina last year is back. So they don't even really have a good grasp of what their offense is going to look like at quarterback and beyond. So I think that they have a lot of question marks. I do think that the fourth place is kind of where they belonged. I think I had them at fifth, but fourth, fifth, it's all kind of the same there. It'll be interesting to just see what it is, because also I compared them a lot to Georgia Southern the first year they came in the league. They kind of came in and just ran through everybody because nobody really knew what to expect from them. Sure, you had the film that you looked at and said, oh, this guy's fast. They're going to run the ball. They do this, they do that. But that didn't always match up with Sunbelt defenses. So very anxious to see what Louisiana Tech looks like when they're going week in, week out against the Sunbelt.
Yeah, another comparison I had in my mind was a little like a James Madison. How when James Madison came into the Sunbelt, the coaches in their wisdom selected him to finish last. And that really made Coach Signetti upset. And a lot of it is because, we just don't know what to expect from James Madison. Shane, is there a little bit of that with Louisiana Tech, that even though they play FBS football and we've seen them, from afar many times, maybe we don't really understand what Louisiana Tech is and what they can bring to the table?
Maybe. And, like I said, I had Troy as a pretty easy number one, and it was partly because we knew their quarterback situation. Arkansas State and Louisiana Tech were my next two teams, and it was partly because I don't know what they have at quarterback, but they both have a lot of snaps and a lot of starts coming back on the whole. So I kind of like both of those teams, other than not necessarily knowing if they have a serviceable quarterback. I wouldn't be shocked if Louisiana Tech ends up maybe not to the level of JMU, like you said, they were picked last or second to last or something like when they came in. So maybe not to that big of a jump because they're kind of in the middle of the pack right now. But I wouldn't be shocked if come November, we're like, oh, wait a second, Louisiana Tech's in the mix to win the West. It all kind of depends on what they end up finding out about their quarterbacks.
So
Shane's pet monkey is apparently going off there.
Are you broadcasting from a zoo?
We got a lot of birds in Virginia. I don't know if you've been here, but
I did not know that. That's nothing new about Virginia.
Probably still quieter than if I went indoors.
So I almost don't even want to talk about this. I don't think we are actually. Let's not even talk about South Alabama, Tibbs. They just disappoint you every year. Every year you're just left a shell of a man. Anytime that you think this could be the year that the Jags do something, they're probably not going to do something again this year. So let's talk about Southern Miss under Blake Anderson. Third head coach in 3 years. Does Southern Miss just find some kind of secret sauce under Blake Anderson?
Maybe.
Okay.
Just as we've talked about all these other teams, you could almost have this blanket statement and it's like insert team here.
Yeah.
Not knowing what Southern Miss really has because there was so much turnover on that roster. I think any talent they did have by way of the Marshall acquisition went to Memphis with the Huff Shuffle. And so he is inheriting the bare cupboard and trying to figure out, does he have enough to make any kind of noise, or is this just a right off into the sunset and we'll be back next year? I do think that he'll have success at Southern Miss. I just don't think it's this year.
Yeah, one thing about Blake Anderson is he does well when he inherits a good foundation. When he came to Arkansas State, he had all this good recruiting foundation from Hugh Freeze and from the other coaches that came before him. So he was able to win some games as a result. When he went to Utah State, it was kind of the same thing. They had a good bedrock there, and he did pretty well the first few seasons. My problem with Blake Anderson is that once it starts to be his own recruits, things start going to hell. Things start to slide. So him not having that bedrock at Southern Miss makes me a little worried about Southern Miss. So it'd be a good way for Blake Anderson to prove that he can build a team from the ground up. I hope that he can. He's had plenty of experience. He's had enough failure to use as experience. So I'm hoping that he takes those lessons and does something with Southern Miss. And I'll talk a little bit about Arkansas State. Shane, you mentioned about the quarterback situation. The quarterback situation at Arkansas State isn't as confusing or as cloudy as one might think. They do have a returning quarterback coming back, and Ethan Crawford, a guy out of Southern Miss. He can run and he can throw. They've got a couple good guys from Vanderbilt that are serviceable. But what's really interesting is a guy named Trey Owens. He's a guy out of Texas, ended up getting buried on the food chain with the Longhorns because the Longhorns had much good talent. He comes to Arkansas State. I've seen him play. He's a big guy. He can also run. He can throw deep. So I think Arkansas State, in conjunction with some of these skill players that they have that are coming back, could have a pretty good year this year. I'm not willing to say they're going to overcome Troy. I think you're right. I think Troy's a pretty good program. I think they're probably the leader in the clubhouse. But I think Arkansas State's in good shape. If anybody wants to back me up.
Nope.
No?
They're terrible. Terrible.
That's about right.
All right. Okay. Well, let's slide into the East then. Let's just do that. We already took a toe into the East, thanks to me and just having a brain fart and thinking Georgia State was in the West for some reason. JMU, they get the nod over Old Dominion, which is sort of like the soup du jour of the Sun Belt East these days, Shane.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like, I mean, I think Tibbs has kind of been hinting at it a little bit. Like maybe he doesn't think JMU should be picked up there. Like what I've just been telling everybody who asks me is looks good on paper for JMU. We have no idea really how it all comes together. I mean, they went out and got guys who maybe put up stats at a lower level or transferring down or transferring laterally from G5 programs. Like, and it looks like they filled all the gaps, and there are a lot of them after, once again, everybody leaves and follows the head coach to a Power 5 school. But you really don't know. Like I've been saying, about teams that lost their starting quarterback, that like, I just want to see what they have. JMU's got, I guess at this point, it looks like 3 guys in the mix for that starting job, and none of them have played a lot. So it makes me a little bit hesitant to like just say, hey, they're the clear-cut favorite in the East, because I also like Marshall. I also like ODU. I like Marshall because of what they have coming back at quarterback. Yeah. And ODU, maybe I'm putting way too much on their bowl game, but they go and they beat South Florida pretty handily. They didn't have Colton Joseph, but they got the guy we're going to see this year, and Hinnackel, and like, maybe putting too much on one game, but he looked like he's ready to step into the job.
Yeah, I like ODU simply because Ricky Ronnie, by the way, a Fun Belt pod Tibbs. We all like Ricky Ronnie, right?
Love some Ricky Ronnie.
We love Ricky Ronnie. We love him when he comes over. He's always a good interview. And he always seemed like he was a guy on the cusp, but hadn't quite drug him there. I remember a couple of years ago, Tibbs, I was like, this guy's got to be on the hot seat, right? And I don't know if you agreed with me. I can't remember if you agreed with me or not. But it did feel like that it was a make it or break it year last year, and he made it. He did a very good job. So now he's got this team, and it looks pretty solid. I will say this about James Madison, Tibbs, and I understand where you're coming from. It's a lot of unknown vectors happening out there in Harrisonburg. You got the new coach. you're breaking in a new quarterback. There's a lot of new guys in there. Every time we doubt James Madison turns it around and has a great season. You know, they're just always good from top to bottom. Can they do it again with a third coach? I just don't know. But until they tank, I think it might be James Madison's to lose. But I will say, Tibbs, I think my favorite team out of that might be Marshall, especially considering how many first teamers they have on that first team offense.
And more important to that, they have the trio quadruple named quarterback that is definitely making the noise that, whatever you want to call him, he's the preseason offensive player of the year. He might be getting that honor in the postseason as well, because I think that he will be the difference for Marshall's success this upcoming season. And Marshall might be the team outside of ODU that could knock off the mighty Dukes.
Yeah, I like Marshall a lot. And I love the quarterback. He was like just a guy that was fun to watch. He seemed to he can change the game with his arm. He can change it with his feet, just like the guy from ODU. Shane, if I know you cover JMU, which of those two teams are most likely to be a threat to JMU?
It's hard to say which one is most like I was saying, everything I just said about ODU stands. I'm high on them after their bowl game, doing it without Colton Joseph, that, hey, they can continue what they're doing. And then you talked about Ricky Ronnie too. I think something that gets forgotten a lot is they didn't play 2020. They did just shut the football program down essentially. And I think it took longer to recover from that than maybe people realize. Yeah. And, now we're seeing on defense for ODU, this guy Koa Natola, I see him on the roster. I'm like, oh, this guy's still there. He's been around for a long time. And they just didn't have guys who'd been around for a long time until the last couple of years. So I do like ODU, but Marshall, I think their offense is going to be absolutely electric. Defense might have some question marks. They may be in a shootout every week. They may be really, really fun to watch. But I think if they can get stops at all on defense, they might be the team that can win the East.
Now, one team that really interests me in the Sun Belt East, it's partly because the recruiting that they've done in the last couple of years, and this year including too, the 2027 class has been really good. I'm talking about Dow Loggins, Danger Zone Loggins,
D-Lo.
Tibbs, do not insult this man's height. He might be the shortest quarterback I've ever seen, but man, this guy can recruit. He's got a lot of good guys coming in. Now, I've seen guys before. Memphis is a good example where they come in with this pedigree for recruiting, and they do bring in good guys, but then they can't quite figure out the formula to coaching those guys. Dow Loggins has not proven himself as a head coach yet. What do you think, Shane? Is this the year that maybe he's got the group with which to do it?
Maybe. I don't. It's so hard to know what everybody has. And we're talking about the East, where we just mentioned three teams we like a lot. We haven't talked about Georgia Southern yet. I won't get into it much because we won't, but picked up a pretty good quarterback down there. They may be pretty good. So it's not even necessarily a knock on App, but just who are you putting them ahead of? They may be improved and still just struggle in the East this year. So yeah, that's just a long-winded way to say I don't know. They're on a list of teams. I feel until we see what they put on the field, it's hard to judge.
Yeah, and that's a little bit because of the way the game is recruited and played now. NIL, people leaving, people coming. It's Tibbs, it's almost like you do have to find a common denominator, which teams are bringing back a quarterback and which teams have, the most experience, even though a most experienced team this season would look like a very inexperienced team just 5 years ago.
I think you also got to do a little bit more research. You can't kind of take that lazy man way out and just say, oh, well, James Madison, they were good last year, they'll be good this year. I think you got to kind of look at, are the coordinators coming back? And is the players they brought back something that will fit that offense to where you can kind of see it happening again this year. So I think that you really got to start digging in and not just going at the surface, Jeremy.
That's too bad, because if it's one thing I excel at is living on the surface. Once I dig deep, I can't penetrate. So this is where I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So let's talk about Georgia Southern a little bit, Tibbs. Clay Helton, he comes into the league. He has some success at the beginning. He had some success last year, kind of fell apart. Are the Eagles kind of back? Can we say the Eagles are back? Did they ever leave? They left a little bit, but are they still in the mix?
You remember when we talked to Danny Reed, and he told us a story about the eagle that circled the stadium and then crashed outside?
Yeah, I remember.
I feel like that's very poetic for where we're at with the Eagles, that they're soaring, but something might be wrong and they might be crashing. I feel like they have a lot of the talent, a lot of the pieces there, and that this could be Clay. See, I said Clay Helton's year.
Yeah,
actually
you really
excel.
Yeah.
In the Sun Belt East. So I think the pieces are there. It's all a matter of now you just got to execute and as they used to say in the old Nike days, just do it.
All right, we won't talk about Georgia State because we already dug deep into Georgia State. Let's look at the first team and second team. I know that it's a little bit,
We're talking about Coastal.
Oh, God. Why am I running this show?
13 for 14. We would hear about it.
Teams. We have too many teams. We are now a mega league. Coastal, yes, under new management. What can we expect from Coastal?
I don't know. I think we hadn't started recording yet when I said, if they were bringing back Samari Collier, which kind of a shame he's not, when a lot of guys in his situation did get that extra year. I would be pretty high on Coastal because they were really good when he was playing quarterback for him last year. They were pretty bad when he wasn't.
Yeah.
So, makes me a little bit skeptical going into this year. But you said new management, new regime, completely new roster. I don't know what to think of Coastal.
And did any team really need new management and a new roster and a fresh look more than Coastal Carolina did? You can kind of tell that the Beck era was just kind of becoming a drag.
I mean, they weren't bad. I mean, they went to a bowl game. I mean, as the dogs go ballistic over that question there, Jeremy, but I didn't see where that was needing a regime change, so to say. They were fine. They were going into the postseason. There was life without Grayson McCall. I mean, what more could you really want out of the Chants?
Maybe that's it. Maybe that we expected. I don't know. We've had several years of just Coastal having that Grayson McCall led explosive offense, having those sort of NFL caliber players on the roster. And it just didn't feel like the same Coastal Carolina anymore. But maybe that was unfair to Tim Beck, Shane.
I don't know. Maybe a little unfair to Tim Beck, but I think at the same time, if you're Coastal, if you're Chance Miller, you're hearing from your people, why are we getting passed up? We were the class of this conference not very long ago. Why are we getting passed up? Why is James Madison coming in here and automatically doing what we did? Why is App State and Marshall and other programs, why are they making changes? And it was probably a tough situation, especially for a guy where it wasn't ever just perfectly clear, okay, this is a great fit. He was doing okay, but if they wanted better than okay, maybe they were worried about getting passed up by teams while they were kind of standing still.
Yeah, and if you're in the East, I mean, it's kind of a hard row to hoe. I feel like it's easier in the West if you're a head coach to kind of make your mark. I think GJ Kinney is a perfect example of that. You know, he comes in, he's got a lot of clay to work with, and he's got a little bit of room to work with in a West that's wide open. But in the East, it's like it's kind of like if you're not playing at a top level, you're just not going to get anywhere. Which it pains me to say that, Tibbs, as a creature of the West, but I guess right now the East is still the best.
I still don't see where G.J. Kinney did anything in the West. I mean, sure,
he didn't, but he has this aura about him that he did.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was at a place where, like, hey, coming in and win 8 or 9 games, and it sounds pretty good. Like, Coastal's just not the same. Like, they want to win 10 games, and they've shown that they can.
If you put Tim Beck in with the Bobcats, and he would probably do the same thing as Kinney did, right? Even better. But for whatever reason, Kinney kind of maybe this is why Kinney doesn't like me, because I say stuff like that. But
and for the record, there, Jeremy,
yeah,
new head coach of the Shants, Ryan Beard, the second All Sun Belt performer to ever lead a program.
Wow, that's something that you and I, not Shane, but you and I, could ask him about when we talk to him. So we got the All Sun Belt first team and second team. And as I was trying to say earlier, before I realized, you guys reminded me that I totally forgot about the Chanticleers. First of all, not many Chanticleers on that first team, second team, offense or defense. Is there anybody, or are there any teams that you look at and go, wow, they did very well, or wow, they're missing a lot of guys?
I think it speaks loud volumes that on the first team offense, you have Marshall's quarterback.
Yes.
And 2 offensive linemen
yes.
for Marshall and the tight end and the receiver. This is going to be an offensive juggernaut when the herd hit the field.
Yeah, that really stood out to me too. Shane, anything standing out to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, to Tibbs's point that he's been so subtly making all, like, I mean, there's only 3 JMU players on there, and yet they're picked to win it. Like, you know, it's kind of like, I think people look at their roster and think, oh, there's going to be depth. They're solid everywhere. We trust that they are going to build a big program, but like, yeah, it jumps out that there's not like necessarily the star power or the known names that there have been maybe going into last year.
And look, I do want to say this about James Madison. Look, I like Billy Napier. I think he's a great coach. I think James Madison, with the resources they have, they'll be fine. But you got to show me something, because this is not the same James Madison team we've seen the last 2-3 years that really were on the national stage with a new head coach and new players. Great. You should be able to keep it going with the resources and everything that you have there in Harrisonburg.
I will say this too, that Billy Napier is a much different guy, or at least a much different kind of background than Signetti had, and then Spalding had, right? That wait, who was the last coach for? Who was the last coach for James Madison?
Well, let's see if you can get it.
I said Spalding, but that's not it.
The JMU police are after you there.
I know he's at UCLA now. That's the only thing I can remember.
Bob.
Yeah. Oh, Chesney. How can I forget that? I love Bob Chesney. But Bob Chesney was kind of cut from the same cloth, in my opinion, as kind of the same way. Kind of made his bone through the FCS, had winning programs, knew how to win. Napier, a former OC, I think from Arizona or Arizona State, spends some time at the Cajuns, ends up big time at Florida, now comes to James Madison. It's just a different road. So is that going to make the team different?
I'm not sure if hiring a guy who got fired at an SEC school would have went over all that well if it wasn't a guy who had a couple Sun Belt championships.
Sure. He knows his way around the Sun Belt.
Yeah. I mean, I think that probably, if it hadn't been Billy Napier, then I think people would have been like, well, why aren't you just going with what works? Who's the best FCS coach out there? Who's the best?
Yeah, and that's what I thought you guys were going to do. Yeah.
I think a lot of people thought that, but Billy Napier was kind of always on the list, but if he didn't have the Sun Belt history, I think, they probably wouldn't be getting the respect that they're getting right now.
So one guy that I noticed that stuck around James Madison, and I thought in my mind, I thought maybe deserved the top running back over Kenyon Clay or even Devin Roche of Old Dominion, was James Madison running back George Pettaway. Is he being a little overlooked?
Possibly. I think he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He had some injuries last year, and then Wayne Knight just, he got Wally pipped a little bit. Wayne Knight comes and has an All-American season and gets all the carries, and Pettaway, was healthy towards the end of the year, and they're doing some things like, hey, let's try to throw in the ball, let's do some things, but you just weren't taking the ball out of Wayne Knight's hands. And I think he's come in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder this year, saying like, okay, well, I got to remind everybody, I almost rushed for 1,000 yards. I can do this job.
So I do want to shout out to my own Arkansas State guy, Chauncey Cobb. Gets first team honors for all-purpose yards, for kick returns, and for wide receiver. I can't think of, Tibbs, and I could be wrong, I can't think of a Sun Belt player being on 3 positions for a Sun Belt all-first team. Am I wrong about that? Has that been done?
T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y.? Well, that's digging into antiquity. Okay. That sounds about right. Only T.Y. could do something like that.
He was a bad man.
He really was. All right. So we're going to be on our way to Sunbelt Media Days. Tibbs, I look forward to having a few beers or other libations while we're there.
Without a
Shane,
doubt.
we'll raise a glass to you. But now is the time for, what do we call it? Pranks, practical jokes, and punks? No.
Close
No.
enough.
Parting shots, plugs, and promos. Tibbs, we'll start with you.
I just want to say that we have not had Phil Steele on this year, but I am extremely thankful for Phil Steele and his magazine.
Oh.
It is the most thorough preseason magazine to help you really get the insights of what's going on all 136 FBS teams. And he also has a special digital supplement that you can get that covers the FCS, the ESPN College Football Preview magazine. Jeremy, Shane, 2 paragraphs for all the G6. 2.
You gotta be shitting me.
2.
Damn. Why? Why would you do that to us, ESPN?
And that's my parting shot.
Wow. You should be pissed off. Shane Metlin, can you raise my anger more than that just did?
Probably not.
Okay.
My parting shot, it's not even necessarily a parting shot. I don't know if this fits into either of the 3 categories I'm giving here, but I'll just ask you guys. I mean, Jeremy, you're the elder statesman here, right?
Wow.
You look youngest, but you're a little bit older than me.
You didn't have to bring that up, I guess.
You don't remember the bicentennial at all, do you?
I was 2 when that happened. So no.
I wasn't quite born yet. Like, I won't tell people what year I was born, but George Brose hit 390 on my birthday. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so so I just, so everything I know about the bicentennial, it's like what I heard from my parents, what I've heard from other people, things like that. I'm just going to ask you, like, did you feel like 250 kind of came and went and like surprised there was really nothing to it? Like, I heard, like, from what I heard, like 200, it was just like, it was everywhere all summer long, all year long. And like, I don't know what it says about America right now. Like, yeah, I mean, there was some stuff, but it just really wasn't that much different than the normal 4th of July.
Yeah, you don't normally, even there's always going to be stuff, right? There's always going to be political tension. There's always going to be, divides of generations and stuff. And it is strange that this 250 didn't really have the oomph that it could have had. And yeah, I agree. Even like, I feel like even as a kid, not being two, but even a couple years later, the remnants of the 200th anniversary were still going out. Somebody did make a good point. Like in the 200th anniversary, Washington, D.C. actually like did some neat stuff for the city itself. Like that's when they started their monorail, their rail system to get people back and forth. They had a couple other public works projects, and there was really nothing like exciting for the 250th to go, wow, here's the future. You know, there was like, we're not building like high-speed rail somewhere or going to the moon, which we could have timed that some way. I don't know what it was, but there wasn't anything to rally behind, Tibbs. Did you feel the same way?
I'm just glad that we paid to have a pole painted blue that didn't last blue very long. And that's not a political statement, but that's just a
statement of
it's
fact.
outside water. What did you expect to happen if you're not chlorinating it and everything else?
It's Washington, D.C. It gets a lot of sun. It's humid. You're going to get some algae.
And some homeless funk.
Yes. So I don't know. I think there was a lot of swings and misses, I guess. Shane, is that your point, that it wasn't a great 250th?
Yeah, I mean, I was just asking if you guys maybe thought it was like a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I think it was a little underwhelming, but you know what? They're having that F1 race a couple of days from now or whatever. Maybe that brings it back in, Tibbs.
I mean, I love some F1. Nothing like a bunch of Italians and Europeans to celebrate America's 250.
Absolutely. We were discovered by Italians, so that's how it should work out. My parting shot is, hey, guys, did you watch Game of Thrones?
Nope.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you watched Game of Thrones. So you remember Game of Thrones was like every character was capable of doing something just horrendous or despicable or something that would drop your jaw or just you know, like it would just like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before, right? That was the beauty of Game of Thrones, it was just nothing but atrocity after atrocity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So have you been watching the spin-off House of Dragons?
I haven't.
Okay. There's a good reason why you haven't, because you probably haven't heard much juice about it. Let me tell you something. It is like they took everything good about Game of Thrones and said, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the deviance and the violence and the jaw-dropping moments, and let's just turn everything into side discussions. Everything that happens in Game of Thrones is a hushed whisper discussion. There's no beheadings, there's no torture, there's no like giant battles featuring like the small people getting destroyed. There's nothing. It is nothing. There's not a villain to root for. There's not a good guy to root for. There is nothing. And that's my parting shot.
I'm glad you said nothing there, Jeremy.
It's kind of like the 250th anniversary, but for Game of Thrones.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.